The year is 1922. The world, still recovering from the Great War, yearns for wonder. And in the desolate, sun-baked sands of Egypt's legendary Valley of the Kings, a name was on the verge of echoing through the ages: Tutankhamun. For years, British archaeologist Howard Carter, a man driven by unwavering conviction and funded by the persistent Lord Carnarvon, had painstakingly searched for the lost tomb of this relatively minor boy pharaoh. Many believed it had been lost to the sands of time, a forgotten footnote in Egypt's long history. Then, on November 4th, 1922, a single stone sparked the culmination of years of tireless effort. It was the top of a staircase, hidden beneath centuries of debris. Carter knew, with a thrill that must have coursed through his very being, that this could be it. Weeks of careful excavation followed, revealing a sealed doorway bearing the cartouche of Tutankhamun. The anticipation was palpable. On November 26th, with Carnarvon and his daughter Lady Evelyn Herbert present, Carter made a small breach in the door. Holding a candle aloft, he peered into the antechamber. Imagine the scene. Darkness pierced by flickering light, revealing a chaotic yet breathtaking collection of funerary furniture, gilded chariots, statues of strange and wonderful beasts, and everywhere, the glint of gold. Untold treasures lay undisturbed for over 3,000 years. Months turned into years as Carter and his team meticulously catalogued and cleared the antechamber before finally reaching the sealed entrance to the burial chamber itself. On February 17, 1923, they broke through. Inside lay a colossal golden shrine, and within it, nested like a precious jewel, the sarcophagus of the boy king. The discovery sent shockwaves around the globe. Images of the iconic golden death mask, inlaid with lapis lazuli and carnelian, captivated the imaginations of millions. Tutankhamun, once a forgotten pharaoh, was now a household name. But amidst the awe and excitement, a seed of fear began to sprout. Something else emerged from that ancient tomb, whispered in hushed tones, a shadow lurking behind the golden splendor, the curse of the pharaoh. The whispers turned into shouts when, just a few weeks after the tomb's opening, Lord Carnarvon, the very man whose financial backing had made the discovery possible, contracted pneumonia and died in Cairo on April 5, 1923. The cause? Reportedly, an infected mosquito bite. But to a world hungry for the dramatic, it was something far more sinister. Newspapers seized upon the tragedy. Headlines screamed, "The curse is real." And then, the stories began to multiply. Within months, more deaths followed, each one adding fuel to the fiery narrative of the curse. A visiting American magnate named George, who had toured the tomb, fell ill with a sudden fever and passed away soon after returning home. Not long after, Prince Ali, a young Egyptian nobleman who had been present at the tomb's opening, met a tragic end. He was shot dead by his own wife in a shocking incident in London, further deepening the public's fear of the pharaoh's retribution. The list grew stranger. A radiologist who had x-rayed the mummy reportedly died mysteriously. A visitor who allegedly mocked the tomb's inscriptions succumbed to a sudden, unexplained illness. It seemed no one was safe from the pharaoh's silent wrath. Even seemingly unrelated events were woven into the tapestry of the curse. Howard's own pet canary was said to have been eaten by a cobra, a creature sacred to Egyptian royalty and a potent symbol of pharaonic power. Within a decade, over 24 deaths were linked, however tenuously, to the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb. But was this truly the vengeful spirit of a long-dead king reaching across the millennia? Or was it merely a string of unfortunate coincidences, amplified by a sensationalist media eager for a captivating story? The world pondered, torn between belief and doubt. The ancient Egyptians held a profound reverence for the dead and their journey into the afterlife. Their tombs were not just burial places, but carefully prepared vessels for the soul's eternal voyage. Warnings of dire consequences for intruders, though not explicit in Tutankhamun's tomb, were common, intended to safeguard the pharaoh's spirit. In the cold light of modern science, researchers sought more rational explanations. Theories involving harmful spores, toxic molds, or long-sealed bacteria within the tomb environment were proposed. The dark, undisturbed conditions could have harbored such dangers, though none were ever definitively proven. And then there's the curious case of Howard Carter himself, the man who orchestrated the entire excavation, the first to lay eyes on Tutankhamun's undisturbed burial chamber, lived for another 17 years after the opening. He died peacefully in 1939 at the age of 64. His longevity stands in stark contrast to the fate of others supposedly touched by the curse. So we're left with the enduring question: was the curse of Tutankhamun a genuine supernatural phenomenon, a manifestation of ancient wrath? Or was it, as some suggest, a potent blend of coincidence, fear, and the irresistible allure of a good mystery, expertly fueled by a media-hungry world? Whatever the truth may be, the legend of the curse has persisted for over a century, casting a spectral shadow over one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in history. It serves as a potent reminder of the enduring power of belief and the captivating mystique of ancient Egypt. Even today, as countless tourists stand in awe before the golden mask of Tutankhamun in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, one can almost sense a lingering unease, a whisper of the curse carried on the desert wind, a chilling reminder that some secrets, perhaps, were never meant to be disturbed. So, the question remains: knowing the tales, the tragedies, the enduring mystery, would you dare step into the tomb? But Tutankhamun's was not the only tomb steeped in mystery. Let's journey back to the early 1900s, a period of fevered discovery in Egypt. Amidst the grandeur of finding pharaohs, a lesser-known archaeologist, Victor Loret, was making a find that would forever be shrouded in shadow. He was not searching for gold, but for knowledge. His team unearthed the tomb of a little-known pharaoh, Amenemhat III. But what they found inside was not the expected spectacle of riches. Instead, the tomb was a place of profound and unsettling mystery. Inside the burial chamber, they found blackened sarcophagi and bizarre, unusual symbols of rebirth carved into the walls. But most perplexing of all were the odd, scorch-like burn marks on the walls, as if some terrible heat had been unleashed within the chamber. It was a tomb that felt less like a resting place and more like a warning. And a warning it seemed to be. Soon after the discovery, a string of misfortune befell Loret's team. One member went blind, his sight fading inexplicably. Another, a young assistant, died suddenly from a raging fever. Locals, hearing of the unusual markings, began to whisper of a protective fire spirit, a flame god, invoked in the ancient carvings to guard the pharaoh's eternal rest. The mysteries deepened when, a year later, all of Loret's detailed notes and his only photographs of the Amenemhat III tomb were mysteriously destroyed in a fire in Cairo. The very knowledge of the tomb and its strange contents was erased in a single night of calamity. With the notes gone and the team's spirit broken, the tomb was resealed. To this day, it remains closed, its secrets locked away beneath the sands, guarded by a silence no one dares to disturb. Was the fire a cruel coincidence, or the final act of a curse that refused to be contained? But the tomb of Amenemhat III was not the only place where the ancient past fought back. Let's turn our attention to the chilling case of the priest's cache. This was not the tomb of a single king, but a mass burial, dozens of high priests, entombed together in a ceremonial silence that had lasted millennia. It was a site filled not with glittering treasure, but with artifacts of immense spiritual power. Among these items was a golden dagger, its blade inscribed with the name of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of death and the afterlife. This particular artifact was sent to a museum in Berlin for study. Its journey, however, was marked by an eerie omen. When it arrived at the museum, the pristine golden blade was found cracked down the middle. That same night, the curator responsible for its care reportedly suffered from vivid, waking hallucinations. He was last seen wandering the museum halls, talking to himself, before he vanished completely. He was never found. To this day, the cracked dagger of Anubis remains, a silent testament to a life lost to an ancient, vengeful force. Egyptologists are still fiercely divided on these and other similar tales. Are these simply ghost stories, woven from a potent mix of fear, superstition, and tragic coincidence? Or are they warnings, a testament to a civilization far more spiritually advanced and far more powerful in their final rest than we can ever truly imagine? Because for every tomb that is opened, for every artifact uncovered, there seems to be a price. A whisper on the wind, a shadow in the corner of your eye, a presence just out of reach, reminding us that we are not alone in these ancient halls. But there is another tomb, never officially recorded, spoken of only in hushed tones by the Bedouin of the Western Desert. This is not a tale of a boy king or a cursed priest. This is a legend of a queen, so powerful, so feared, that her very name was erased from history. The Bedouin call it the Tomb of the Forgotten Queen. The story begins in the 1930s, a time when brave and perhaps foolish explorers still believed there were secrets to be found off the beaten path. A pair of French explorers, driven by a map said to be older than the dynasties themselves, ventured into a remote, forgotten corner of the Western Desert. They were a determined pair, dedicated to documenting their discoveries, but they vanished without a trace before they could ever publish their findings. Their disappearance was an enigma, but the legend of their discovery remained. For decades, the area they vanished in was avoided, a place of ill omen. Then, years later, locals living on the fringes of the desert began to report something new. Strange, ethereal lights flickering near a desolate ridge, a place where no one dared to go after sundown. They described the lights as a ghostly luminescence, as if a long, dead fire were still burning. A modern research team, skeptical and armed with the latest technology, decided to investigate. They didn't find a tomb, not at first. Instead, they found fragments of pottery and stone scattered on the desert floor, remnants of a structure long since swallowed by the sands. As they pieced them together, they discovered something that sent a chill through even the most hardened archaeologist. A series of exquisite jewelry fragments inscribed with a royal name that had never been seen before. The name was Neferu, not a name from the annals of the great pharaohs, not a footnote in the temple archives, not a single mention in any of the countless papyri recovered from the dusty libraries of ancient Egypt. Just that one name, on those few precious fragments. And among those fragments was a single cryptic carving. It depicted a queen, regal and powerful, seated beneath a magnificent crescent moon, a symbol of the night and of hidden power. Beneath the image were the words, "She who speaks in dreams." The team, a mix of awe and trepidation, took the fragments back to their camp. But the moment they were removed from their desolate resting place, the haunting began. 3 of the researchers, all of whom had been directly involved in handling the fragments, began to have identical nightmares. A vivid, terrifying vision of a woman's face, her eyes filled with cold rage, her voice calling to them from behind a sealed wall. It was a voice that promised eternal darkness if they did not return what was stolen. The nightmares were relentless, invading their sleep night after night. One of the men, a seasoned expert in hieroglyphics, took his own life, leaving a note that spoke of the voice's ceaseless torment. A second researcher, an engineer on the team, simply vanished one night in Luxor, a bustling city, leaving no trace behind. Today, no expedition, no matter how well-funded or technologically advanced, dares to search for her tomb. Not because they cannot find the location. The Bedouin tales and modern satellite imagery give them a clear map to the ridge. But because the price is too high. The curse is not one of a sudden, dramatic death. It is a slow, creeping horror that follows you home, a madness that hunts you in your sleep. The legend of Neferu, the queen who speaks in dreams, is a story that defies the logic of science and the rational mind. It is a story that proves some secrets are not meant to be found, some doors are meant to remain closed forever. And so, the sands of Egypt keep her secrets well. The wind whispers her name, a name that history tried to forget. And to this day, no one returns from trying to find the tomb of the forgotten queen. And so, the sands of Egypt keep their secrets well, burying them deep beneath the desert floor. They will wait for 100 years, 1,000 years, or more until someone dares to disturb them again.
If history leaves you curious and craving more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Join us on the journey through time, one forgotten echo at a time.